5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the China Jedi podcast, shining humor, love, and light on Chinese life. For those living, working, or traveling in China, or interested in learning about Chinese culture, expat life, and foreigners' perceptions. May the smile be with you.
My eyes are clear, cleared on the mist in the cloudy morning.
China Jedi legal disclaimer. Please listen carefully. What you hear on this pod may or not be the truth, may or not be funny, rude, or downright stupid. If statements are made by certain individuals from the human race that go against your preconceptions, conceptions, postconceptions, and selections, faith, tastes, or personal philosophies, please take it with a light-hearted sigh and slight shrug of the shoulder. Hold your head up high, knowing that you are a better person than they are, and that one day the force will strike down on them with great vengeance of furious laughter and unconditional frivolous forgiveness.
Ting ba dong, you got it all wrong. The things that I've been saying, you've been listening to the wrong side.
Hello, China Jedi listeners all around the world. Welcome to episode 41. Yes, we're back. Both myself, Chris Bradshaw, and Josh Summers. Josh, it's been a while. How you doing, and how's your summer been?
It has been good, and it has been a little while. It was a good time. We got to spend some time with family. My boys, I got two boys. I don't know if I've shared that before, but they got to spend time with their, grandparents, and overall it was good. It was really good. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So you went back home to the US, and I went to another one beginning with U, but the UK. And would you believe, we were there for a month, there with the kids and the wife. We had 95% of the time, Josh, literally blue skies and beautiful 24 degrees and up to 30 degrees. This is Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. Weather in England, it was absolutely smashing. And I just thought to myself, if it could only be like this every year in England, I might just never have left.
Yes. Well, unfortunately for me, I'm from Texas. I don't know if you know the U.S. geography that much, but the Texas summers are not 30 or 25 degrees, Celsius. And I mean, we do have blue skies. I'll say that much. But man, it was something hot. There's a reason that most, that pools like swimming pools are so popular in Texas is because, man, in the summer there's really not much better to do than sit in an air conditioned house or go outside and go swimming.
So, and does it get really humid like it does, in the subtropical South China where we are?
It doesn't, and that's what to me makes it bearable. Like I don't step outside in Texas and then start sweating the moment I step outside. Whereas if I'm in Yunnan or something like that, I can. If there's heat and humidity, I just start pouring sweat.
Well, that's one positive. But I have heard, not just from TCM doctors out there, listeners, that hot, sweaty climates is very good for the lymph system keeps it flowing. Not like my voice. Okay, Josh. Look, before we whiz into this, a couple of things. One to listeners, apologize if we have any technical sound issues today, but we're all moving offices and as these things happen at some points through the years, and our equipment may be playing up somewhat through internet and all that stuff. So apologize if Josh or my voice goes a little bit robotic on you. We are here in our human state. So that's number one. Number two, we have to say, I think before we begin, we're recording this, listeners, in the Chinese national holidays. So let's say a big happy 70th birthday to China and the CCP. For anyone to become 70, I think that's worth a congratulations. So, in Chinese, we would say 70岁生日快乐, wouldn't we, Josh?
Absolutely. Did you watch the parade yesterday?
I caught a little glimpse on social media. It looked very, very pomp.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been talking with some friends that live out in Beijing, and these past couple weeks have been absolutely nuts crazy in terms of streets being kind of blocked off. They've just been moving all of this equipment into the city in order to have this parade, and it has definitely altered the way that people live in Beijing for the past couple weeks.
Well, I mean, even at level in Zhuhai in our school, I've never seen so many flags. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
just one outside of the classroom, but at least two or three. A real big effort. I mean, whatever you say, I'm in this country, when they do events, they really do them to the 110% max. Whether it be the Olympics or national holiday, or anything like that. Even on the Chinese New Year, Josh, they put out these red lanterns, and there's thousands of them just in our condo.
Yeah.
So it's a real big effort. Must take some management for sure. But anyway, happy 70th birthday. And if anyone's on the streets in China, this is your time to say qi shi shui shengge kuai le and get away with it. To anybody, you could say happy 70th birthday, and it won't come across as like they're saying you're saying they're too old or anything like that. So this is definitely one to celebrate, huh?
Yeah. And it'll be, if you're in China right now, it'll be pretty much impossible to not see all the celebration that's happening, because China has made a big deal of this all across the country.
Yeah, very much so. And going back to myself, I remember when I was here for the 60th anniversary, Josh, which I
You're
don't
aging
know where
yourself, Chris.
10 years, where those 10 years have got. But there you go. It has been 10 wonderful years in this country, and we've really learned and gained a lot from it. So thank you, and happy birthday to China. Right, wonderful. Let's get on to even more positive stuff, Josh, because today we are going to celebrate in a way the short kind of series we did before the summer. We did an 8 episodes with yourself, Travel China Cheaper, and of course us guys at China Jedi, us guys and girls, may I say. And what we're going to do, listeners, is we're going to go over each of the episodes, and we're going to announce the winner of the prize from each of the episodes. So this is going to be hopefully nice and fun. Josh, prizes and all, what do you want to do here? Shall I think I'll start, shall I, with the first one?
Go for it.
Okay, so we go back, listeners, to episode 35, and we did an episode. It was called Visa Stress Mess. Do you remember that one, Josh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when you're talking about China visas, there's plenty to talk about.
It was indeed, and we had some good stories of rejections and how to get around certain problematic situations. I also remember discussing old school Jesus Christ, which is very much now not the flavor of the month in terms of famous kind of Western names that can be blotted out here. Jesus Christ has been removed. What was the other one, Josh? Jesus Christ, and it wasn't Michael Jackson, was it? It was Nixon.
Oh my
Nixon.
Gosh. You're asking me to remember something. I can barely remember what happened last week, and you want me to remember those 3 names?
Well, any intrepid podcaster listeners would have notes in front of them, wouldn't they? And nice and prepared. But anyway, we talked about visas and stresses and messes, and the prize for this particular podcast, I mean, this is a really cool prize, was a free 6-month Skritter subscription, Josh. We both use Skritter, of course, and it's got huge advantages, hasn't it?
It does. I mean, there are tons of apps out there for helping you learn. If you're wanting to really up your game in terms of writing and kind of, flashcard recognition, Skritter's been hands down one of my favorite.
Yeah, for sure. I use it every day, and it's a real good brain trainer. And if you're wanting to learn Chinese characters, the written language here, listeners, it's really a perfect app. I would definitely recommend it. So a person wrote in, as they were meant to do, write a review and then send in the screenshot to info@chinajedi.com. This, I'm going to let's read the quote first, and then we'll announce the name. So here we go. You ready, Josh?
Go for it.
Okay. This person writes... this is quite strange. Awesome podcast channel. He must have been having a few beers. Chris and Josh, he's even got you in here, Josh. Chris and Josh are a real treat. A real treat in the metaphoric sense, attending to some serious issues that foreigners living in China face with a great deal of humor. Definitely worth listening to. Short but sweet, Josh.
Absolutely. And you are a Chris. I mean, let's just be honest.
I'm sorry, but your voice got cut off there. You are a what, did you say?
I said you are a real treat. Let's just be honest.
Right. Yes. Okay. Lovely. So that's wonderful. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, and this person, the name is Corne Hatting, all from South Africa, Josh. Corne Hatting. I must admit, I've never heard that name before. Corne. We going with a man or a woman here, Josh? Sorry, listeners. I don't want to be stepping on anyone's feet. What do you reckon?
Well, so now you're asking me to step into the pile here.
If I'm gonna get wet, you're gonna get wet with me, brother.
I'm assuming it was. I for some reason assumed it was a gentleman, but I could be wrong there.
Oh, well, gentleman or lady, 6 months free subscription is coming all your way to Corne Hatting. So thank you so much for that. That's wonderful. And listeners, it really is great to just get some positive feedback from what we're doing. Okay, Josh, so that was that. Visa stress mess. Well done, Corne. Let's move on.
All right, we're here number 2, which was episode 36, A Breath of Foul Air. And if you know anything about China, we talked about a lot of just to stay in the long term, you've got to feel like you can be healthy and having clean air to breathe, especially in your home, is just one of the most important things, at least for me. When I had my 2 kids, I don't know about you, Chris, with your kids, but it's like I don't want to have to think about my kids having breathed just all this polluted air. And so, that's a lot of what we talked about.
Yeah, I sorry, one thing's come up from that episode. On the with the Dway, I remember there was something, wasn't there, posted about how this kind of stuff, foul air, polluted air, can actually bring the people together and create a positive movement, which, scraping the barrel, you've got to say that's quite something. So anyway, there are solutions to these things. And the prize for this one was, Josh, what was the prize?
The prize were pollution. It was actually a pollution mask from the company AQ Blue, and I've gotten to know the owner of that company. They're based. Let me see if I got this right. I think they started the company in China, but they're actually now selling all over Southeast Asia because as I'm coming to learn, there's bad pollution all across the world, not just China.
Exactly. Did you hear that, BBC? There is pollution not just in China, but in other parts of the world. Yeah.
Yep. All right, and so the review that we got that came in for that, I'll go ahead and read that for you. It says, "Great new China podcast. Am now 2 episodes into China Jedi, having spent 4 years in the Middle Kingdom," which, if you don't know, is another name for China. "It's great to hear some musings on China life from expats living in the country, as well as having a thought-out structure. The show is well researched, and I particularly like the fact that they have a different topic each episode, yet include familiar segments like Guess Who and some Chinese language. I now have 2 new idioms to use in day-to-day life out there. To top it off, it's lighthearted and funny. Found myself chuckling several times whilst listening."
Hey, there you go, huh? Lovely.
All right. I prefer, full-on belly laughs, but I guess I can settle for a chuckle if that's what we get.
Come on, man. Come on. Any type of laugh, snigger. I know we're doing our job well. Okay, that's wonderful. So who was that?
That was a gentleman named Tom Cider Apple, although I sincerely doubt that is his real name, but we'll just go with Tom. And Tom is from the UK. He is in Chengdu, and he has, now granted, AQ Blue, I've been talking with them and they're sending it out, but if you know anything about China during the holidays, between now and basically the 8th of October, there is no mail that is sent anywhere. Like everything kind of just shut down. And so that's going to get sent out after the holiday, but he's going to be receiving a pollution mask from AQ Blue.
Oh, wonderful. And I mean, he's in Chengdu, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that could be very useful. So wonderful. Mr. Cider Apple. Yes, definitely. Surely not his name. I've never heard of that in England. But anyway.
I mean, I've known some parents that have given their kids some very unique names. So, you never know. And Mr. Tom, if your name actually is Cider Apple, kudos to you. And I'm sorry for having a chuckle at that expense.
No. Also, it seems to be like we're taking apart every one of our reviewers' names. We really weren't meant to do that. So maybe on the third one, we should stay away from tackling their name and we just go with it, Josh. Okay, let's move on to. We really thank you for these wonderful testimonials, references, whatever reviews. Right, great. Number 3, then. Thanks for that, Josh. Number 3 was based on episode 37, which was titled Massage Your Rent. And in this episode, we talked about a few interesting things, connecting the pulse of the dragon. Oh, yes, that was it. We were talking about different ways how they describe in English their massage services, wasn't it, Josh?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which, of course, can be very poetic, and that was that. And we also talked about renting apartments in China, which is a big thing. Of course, people coming to live here in the short and long term. And now the prize for this episode, I believe, was this has got to be the best prize. I think you'd agree, Josh. It's one copy of your famous Travel to China book by none other than J.S. Josh Summers, huh?
That's right. Yeah, he's going to be receiving. Now, I wish I could say it's signed. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get around to signing it.
Oh, you're so busy.
But Nick, I'll have to make it up to you some other way. It's still useful whether or not it's signed.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Well, this is news, listeners. So the winner for this. Let me read the quote first. The review. A fun resource. I guess it's not meaning your book because I haven't got the book yet. I arrived in China on a work project only a few months ago, and I'm really glad to have found this podcast. Wonderful. The many topics they discuss are really useful and come from a humorous perspective, which makes it easy and fun to digest. I would recommend this to anyone everywhere who is interested in knowing more about China. Well, great. There you go. And this is from Nick Newbie in the US. So they are wonderful. From your homeland, Josh. So, Nick, you will be receiving a copy of it's an actual printed version, isn't it, Josh? You've gone all the way out there for this one.
Oh, yeah. It's a printed version, real paper and everything.
Well, I think maybe you might need to look into actually having the printers actually have your signature, an actual copy of your signature put in at the beginning. That could help at some point. But, well, Nick, we apologize for Josh not being able to sign it. We'll have to do something about that in the future, Mr. Summers.
All right. My apologies, sincerely.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm sure that will be a really useful book, especially for anyone, Nick, because I'm sure you've been to China before, but anyone around you and in your network who comes to China, a really useful book there for people that haven't yet come to the Middle Kingdom. Wonderful. Great stuff. Lovely review.
Next, we've got episode 38, which we called Pack and Play. And in this episode, I remember we discussed a lot about, like, what do you pack? And the very unique things that some people pack when they're traveling abroad, when they're traveling domestically, and some of the different things that I would pack versus what you would pack, because everybody's different.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And I even remember some people like to pack cheese and milk, and some very strange items. But then again, if they're comfort for you, then good on you. Bring what you need to bring.
Yeah, whatever makes it easier for you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read the review that came in for that, and it was titled "Fun and Informative Insights into China. Lighthearted and entertaining approach to exploring life in China. Love the insights from people just living their lives and enjoying the China lifestyle." Mm-hmm. And that comes from a gentleman named Simon in Australia. Hey. And Simon won. I'm really excited about this just because I recently made an international flight, and I used these packing cubes that I talked about in the episode, and we've sent him a set of these packing cubes by a company called Paper Signal. There's tons of packing cubes out there. I'm sure there's a lot of great ones. These are ones that I've used and have really enjoyed.
Yeah, and Josh, to be honest, when we did this episode, I didn't know what a packing cube was, and now I do. And they're these little kind of structured cubic, like compartments that fit into a suitcase that allow you to separate your things, right?
Exactly. It helps keep things organized when you're packing. And I just wanted to say, Chris, I'm really glad that you're being honest. If you can continue to be honest instead of deceitful, that would be, even better.
Okay, wonderful. Ooh, right. Well, Simon, lovely. Enjoy your packing cubes. Are you going to sign those too, Josh, or not?
No, actually, what I did is I just made sure that I put my dirty clothes in one of them, and he's just gonna have to figure out which one and maybe wash it.
Okay, they could be quite something in the future after you've sold another million of your books. Okay, wonderful. Let's move on then. This is my one, yeah. Episode 39, listeners, and this was titled "Speak No Chinese." Ooh, straight to the point. Now in this episode, we were obviously talking about learning to speak Chinese, weren't we, Josh? And the many different tips and stuff and things you can use. And the prize for this is great as well, was a 1 year free subscription to iTranslate Converse, which, Josh, could you just, again, enlighten us on what that is? Because it's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, this is one of those apps where you hold your phone up, you speak the words or the phrase that you're wanting to communicate, and it will translate vocally back to the person in Chinese. It actually does a number of different languages, but if we're using Chinese here, and they can speak Chinese back to you, and within seconds it will speak to you in English. So it is a live one-on-one voice translation app, and they got 1 year free subscription.
Which I had a look at the webpage. That's actually, it's not cheap, this kind of stuff, this technology, especially if it works actually, like you said, live really well. So that is a really, really good prize. And we actually did it, didn't we, Josh? I remember on the episode, you tried it and it worked very well. Yeah. And I mean, even now, whoever wins this, you could go down the street in the next week, and it can be shouting out "Happy 70th birthday, China," couldn't it, as you go along if you don't know how to say it? So wonderful. You could put it on repeat.
Yeah, sure. If that's the way that you want to use it, then I guess that would work.
There's a little tester. Okay, now let's go into the review then for this prize. So here it is. This show gives hints at Chinese culture. Thankfully, the life of the expat and how foreigners perceive China and the Chinese. It is far from divisive and far from educational. Well, I don't know how to take that, Josh. It is a lighter way of looking at things with some understanding chucked in for the fun of it. Some understanding. I don't like where this is going. There are elements of BBC Radio 4 slapped into a show that could easily be at home during the early hours of BBC 6 music. Well, this person clearly is writing a very methodical and deep representation of our show. So do you think we'd be good in the early hours of the morning then, Josh, when no one's listening?
I mean, it sounds like that's the way it is for this gentleman.
Wonderful. We're talking alternative, yet reality, without too much gloss and glamour. Celebrity has little place here, other than the place it is allowed. Indeed. Paul Bailey from Intern China. Okay, yeah, I remember Paul was on episode 11. Sums the spirit of the show up. Life is too short to iron your underpants. Yes.
Wow.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, that was Mr. Paul Bailey, one of the guests we had on earlier in the time of China Jedi, and that was his favorite quote. Now, this is from creative Mr. John Acton, who is from the UK and is now residing in Dongguan in the Delta, the Pearl River Delta in Guangdong. So, John, thank you for that. If you do speak Chinese, it's going to help anyway, I think, with some of the harder translations that John may need, Josh. But if he doesn't speak much Chinese, then it's really going to help you too. So iTranslate Converse, 1 year free subscription coming your way, John. And thank you for such a colourful review. I'm going to take that positively, Josh, because it's the only way to take it.
I think you have to.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, great. And let's move on, shall we?
All right. We're going to move on to the final episode that we did here for this series, which is episode 40, budget travel discounts. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know, what was your biggest memory from this episode?
Well, we were talking about, weren't we? We were talking about going to shopping in China and things to say and not say, things to not buy, things to buy. The biggest thing I've learned, and I learned this many years ago, is if you're going to go and buy cheap stuff in these kind of markets in China, listeners, don't buy electronic goods, right, Josh?
Oh yeah. No, I don't know how it got I remember people saying, oh, when you're traveling to Asia, you can get electronics for cheap, which is, I guess, kind of true, but
Mhm.
they break within about 5 minutes of bringing them home. And so I've never, ever bought electronic goods in China.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. So, what was the prize for this one?
So the prize with this episode was a year subscription to ExpressVPN, which
Uh-huh.
if you're in China right now, it doesn't matter whether you're using ExpressVPN or NordVPN or Astral, you're probably having a hard time connecting.
Mhm.
That just happens no matter what. But there are, good VPNs. Express is one of them that I've been using for quite a number of years, and this is valued at $100. So this giveaway was definitely not something to sneeze at right here.
Yeah, indeed. Sorry, before you go on, Josh, I don't think any of them are much to sneeze at, to be honest. Even your book, I wouldn't sneeze at. I think it's very, very useful. And again, I'm being marvelously honest, like you want me to be, Josh. But what I will say on this note, talking about VPNs, virtual private networks, listeners, for teachers, of which I am one, it's a very, very useful piece of software. When you're working in an international environment, trying to teach an international curriculum, it can be very frustrating. And I know people listening now will nod their heads in agreement when you can't go onto YouTube or you can't go onto a particular reading literacy site because, the firewall will not allow you. So these things, VPNs, whether it be ExpressVPN or others, really do help you to leap over and actually do your job properly, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they, it's really a kind of set it and forget it type of software where you
Mhm.
connect and then you close and then everything works. And that's the way it should be. You just want to be able to access the sites that you want to access and not have to worry about how you got there and what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so who wins this one? Because this is a great prize.
Yeah, this one was a winner. It was a gentleman named Doug. And his review says this podcast shows good insight to many topics in China, and I highly recommend it. I work in China as a science teacher, and there's too
Oh,
much
cool.
misinformation about makerspace. Not quite sure what makerspace is.
Ah, okay. Well, Makerspace. Okay, so we did in one of our other series, China Dedication, we interviewed a guy, Adam Domenico, who created a Makerspace in his international school. It's like a place where you can do science and engineering and kind of hands-on problem-based learning, Josh. You can cook in
Gotcha.
there, you can cut and saw and paint. It's a wonderful thing. Every school should have one, and indeed, I hope they do after in the next 10 years. But I think that's what he's alluding to.
All right, awesome. Well, he continues and says, I'm really glad to learn about what Maker Place is from an international teacher's perspective, and I would love to learn more about it. So there you go,
Okay.
Doug. Thank you for the review, and I hope you enjoy this 1 year subscription to ExpressVPN.
Yeah, wonderful. Is he in whereabouts is he? Is he in China? I guess he is, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like he is. He says, I work in China as a science teacher, so I assume that this will come in good use for him.
Yes, indeed. Coming your way, Doug, very, very shortly. Wonderful. Okay, well, that's at the end of that, isn't it, Josh? We got to the end of our series. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I did too. I really appreciate you allowing me to kind of guest host with you and really enjoy sharing laughs with you here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing that came through all of those reviews, and it's just really awesome to hear them, the people that wrote in, is that there is humor and it is something not to be taken too seriously. And that I think really is a good philosophy for life, especially when you're living in different cultures, because you come up against things that aren't necessarily in line with what you tend to believing or you've been brought up in. So I think humor is the best way to slide between the different poles of experience.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. I think you've got to be able to come into a new culture, a new language, a new country with just an open mind. And a lot of that has to do with being able to laugh at yourself, being able to laugh at what you're seeing around you instead of getting annoyed, frustrated, and angry at it. And hopefully that's part of what we've communicated here is, yeah, there are problems, there are things that you need to solve as you get into this, but there's fun that you can have in trying to figure out the best solution for it all.
Yeah, indeed, Josh. Couldn't agree more. Well said. So it's Chi Shui Shungara Kwailer. Happy 70th birthday to China. And Josh, I look forward to, I'm sure, doing some stuff again in the near future. Thank you so much for your hard work and effort. And listeners out there, thank you for listening. And those that have won the prizes, enjoy them. Thank you, Josh. Speak soon. This is China Jedi.
If you enjoy listening to the China Jedi podcast and want to get involved, either by asking a question, expressing your opinion, good or bad, light or dark, or even appearing as a special guest, then get in touch by emailing our team at info@chinajedi.com. That's info@chinajedi.com. May the smile be with you.